Nobody does fall better than Whole Foods Market. The Spice Up Autumn event is happening now. Save on animal welfare certified beef top sirloin steak, perfect with gravy for a comforting meal. Find savings on organic Honeycrisp apples and organic pears. Then visit the bakery department for their limited time pumpkin butter chai cake. And while you can, level up your fridge with fall wine, beers, and ciders. Spice Up Autumn at Whole Foods Market. Terms apply. Must be 21 plus. Please drink responsibly.
Welcome back to the podcast. I want to give a thank you or shout out to Double Shovel Cider Company in Anchorage for allowing me to host a book release party last week. A lot of fun, or 2 weeks ago now. Because after that, we spent our week up, and this podcast will be recapping all of that. And then also, I think this is a good time we could talk about the rebranding. This will be the podcast formerly known as the Mediocre Alaskan Podcast. We're going to change it to On Step Alaska. When I started the podcast 2017, it was kind of ribbing or joking, or just this idea of everyone is like, oh, I'm a badass Alaskan, or I'm the best Alaskan, or I went up to Alaska and I conquered Alaska. And so I was like, all right, well, I'm just ordinary guy Alaska. So it was kind of a joke, but I think culturally things have gotten to the point now where mediocrity is like the rallying cry of people, and it's getting kind of, and I don't stand for that whatsoever. And there was a while when I was trying to bridge it. I was like, we need to redefine mediocre, and we need to get past mediocre, and you battle through those times that you're not good at something. But now it just seems like it stands for something, or that word stands for something I absolutely don't agree with.
Yeah, I have that sticker on my water bottle, the Mediocre Alaskan Podcast one, and I've gotten a few comments on it now where people are like, what is it with you millennials and mediocre, Why do you guys settle for just okay? And I'm like, no, that's not really the point. So.
Yeah, it was funny about 6 years ago, but now not so much. So I'm going to change it to On Step Alaska. In boating terms, when you were on plane, that means that you're cruising, you're on top of the waves, you're not plowing or doing anything weird. So in Alaska, we kind of refer to that as being up on step. It can also mean when you're telling a good story or you're feeling it and you're on step. So it's kind of what we're going to change it to. Pretty excited for it. It's different, new. Still same program. Still talk about hunting, fishing, outdoors, products. There you go. So that's to come, doing the rebrand here. So we'll see how that goes. Thought about it a couple times, but now it just seems like it just absolutely has to happen.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah. Mediocre. I won't go there.
Yeah, it's hard to defend now. So there that is. And now to recap the trip, let's kind of recap it without just going day by day storytelling. Let's talk about food first.
Food. Nobody cares about food.
Everyone cares about food.
Okay.
The taco truck at Double Shovel, because this actually kind of coincides with the beginning of the trip. The taco truck at Double Shovel, that first day that we were there.
That was the best food we had, I think.
It was real good.
Mochilleros? I don't know how to say that.
Something like that. It's I think they're at Double Shovel quite a bit, but they're an Anchorage-based food truck, and it was Guatemalan.
Yeah, something like that. Tacos.
So good.
Doblados. I don't even remember other Spanish words that I had never heard before. I'm assuming it was Spanish.
So good. I went there on Thursday to kind of get the lay of the land, and they were there. And they had carne asada, tacos, and then the menu was a little bit different on Friday for the release party, but so good.
Yeah, that was good.
So what was your food thing that stuck out?
That was it.
I don't
know. I don't think any of the other food we had was like super remarkable.
No, it was good. I thought the Spinard Roadhouse.
That was good.
It was really good. Got the burgers. Second time. The first time went and got the breakfast burrito.
I got a burger both times.
That was really good.
Yeah.
Cool. Pretty quick too. Very busy, but a big space. Pretty quick. Good.
Yep.
I'd also say the nachos at was it Trails End? What's that place? It was by near the bridge where it goes over the Willow Creek. They had dogs there.
Yeah, was it Trailside?
Trailside, maybe.
Cafe?
Yeah, they had sled dogs there, a little fire pit with some seats around it, and they had some really good nachos. It was after one of our floats, so pretty sure the nachos were really, really good. But it may have also been because of the just length of the float.
Yeah.
But super good. Had some chicken on it, and then the cheese was real good. And we had some leftover dogs from hot dogs, not trail dogs or Iditarod dogs or anything. So cooked those up in the jet boil, boiled them in the jet boil, and then used the extra sauce from the nachos to make cheese dogs.
Yeah.
Super good. But could not eat them outside because the mosquitoes were so stinking bad.
Yeah. Yeah, that was rough.
It's weird when we got up to Denali. We can talk about maybe best hike now. We got up to Denali.
Sure.
just random. Well, there's nothing else with food, right? That kind of did the
that's
food.
fine. That's fine. I don't think anyone listens to the podcast for food anyways. So.
No, but if you're in the Anchorage area or you are listening and you're making an Alaskan trip to Matsu Valley or in the Anchorage area, those would be some recommendations of some places to go to.
That's good.
So, and then shout out for having good stuff, Alaskan businesses. But so it's interesting. We spent a couple days in Anchorage and then a couple days fishing in the Matsu Valley. Did a couple floats in the alpaca rafts, which is awesome. Mm-hmm. Maybe we'll talk about gear first before the hikes. I don't know how many times I said it, but these alpacas are just what a purchase.
They're awesome.
What a purchase. They got going good with the current, but you can still turn easily and you can still go up against the current if you really needed to row. Easy to go to shore. Don't have to worry too much about if you're hitting sticks or anything. If you're going over the water, and I'm a pretty novice. I'm not a whitewater rafter whatsoever, but felt super stable, comfortable. Mm-hmm. Just game changer. Hate the term, but it really is different.
Yeah, they're cool.
Yeah.
So since we're talking about the floating and the fishing, how would you rate that fishing compared to here or?
It's hard. It's really difficult because there's some nice fish in there. And we knew there was some nice fish in there because if you get some of these smaller creeks that have runs of salmon, big salmon, you're going to get a really hearty diet. Some of these smaller creeks down here in Southeast don't drain massive swaths of land and don't have massive amounts of food. So there's a good amount of food.
But a lot of our rivers, I mean, they at least have pink salmon runs. They're getting pretty
100%.
Big inputs of...
Yeah. But when you think about the up north mainland rivers like the Kenai, those trout are salmon-sized trout because of so much food, and the genetics are so good, and there's so much food, and there's so much, the habitat's really good for them. So being that it was a mainland river, even if it was a tributary of a massive one, knew there's going to be big fish there, and we saw some big fish there, but it's always hard to know what the population of it is. And I was kind of thinking about it, and we talked about this briefly as we were driving to the next one. It was the Platte River in Wyoming came to mind just because you're known for having big fish in the Platte River, but they were so easy to catch. There were so many of them. So you were catching, we never caught like the dream fish, but you're catching some really, really nice fish, knowing there's bigger fish out there, but then also picking up quite a few smaller fish. So we got some of the nice rainbows that, I don't know if they're upper tier, but may have been upper tier, but just not a lot of action in between, which was kind of weird.
Yeah.
And that's the strange thing. If there's going to be some of those really big fish, I would have thought that it would be consistent catching at some of these areas that looked really, really fishy. And as soon as the water started to drop, we thought, hey, this is going to happen. We're going to pick up more of the fish, but there's going to be action.
The fishing got worse.
It was crazy. Fishing got worse.
Yeah, it's hard for me to wrap my head around because the places that looked really good, like that I would have fished down south, that I would have been like, oh, this is perfect. I think we're maybe not the right spots to be fishing. But I also think that I'm starting to think that maybe Wyoming has ruined, I don't know, like I think of Alaska and I think of like abundant fish, game, whatever. Like, it should be easy to catch fish. And it was not easy. I caught 1 rainbow and 2 grayling in 3 days. And I think it's like there are just so many people that come to Alaska for that, on top of the fact that, like, Anchorage itself has, 250,000?
Yeah, something like that.
And in the whole state of Wyoming, you have less than 500,000 people. And there are some rivers that people go to Wyoming to fish, but there's also a lot of other rivers that have good fish. So it's like my standard for fishing is like I should always be catching fish, even if they're not the best fish.
Yeah. And one of the advantages that Wyoming has in addition to the population is that with dams, you are creating incredible habitat. And with catch and release rules, you're not relying on, it's not natural. So you're not relying on fish that are returning from the ocean that are providing feed for others. You're not relying on migration or anything. These fish are just kind of stuck between dams, or they're in a lake or reservoir and then come up out of the lake. And so it's a much different thing. It was a creek. It was a small creek. It wasn't like a huge river like the Kenai or Kasilov or the Russian. So when you're fishing there, actually the Russian's pretty small too. So I don't want to be too disappointed because there's some nice fish in there, but I really thought, and I think one of the main things was that those rivers get so much wood and log debris that they fish really differently. So you can have the fish that are holding in these log jams, and we got hung up. That was at least probably 24 flies that we lost.
Yeah.
Which is evidence that we were fishing deep enough and then we were fishing those areas where the fish were probably holding. But there are a lot of areas that you looked at the water and thought, this is a nice riffly area. This is a great spot for a dry fly, or something that's going to be holding in this spot. But then we thought, it'd probably be holding there if there were salmon in the river and they would be kind of near them or in the vicinity. But trying to get your flies into these log jams, you think, is the current so strong down there that it's not even getting down to the spot where they can hold, being outside of the current? So I think part of it too is there's probably a good amount of fish in there, but not knowing how to fish it. I wonder about, because the creeks that we fished were mostly kind of rocky, sandy bottom. Mm-hmm. And I don't know that there's like a whole lot of insect hatches like you get down south with, fat salmon flies or anything. Your stonefly, salmon fly hatch, like that's a meaty thing. So if you're just trying to, we saw a couple of grayling that were taking stuff off the surface, but those are like gnats and mosquitoes. Yeah, there wasn't a whole lot of bug life. No. But winter would have been pretty late. So I think this is another thing too. Another thing that was against us was it was pretty early in the season. Yeah. As it has been. So, I definitely liked fishing a wild river way better than a reservoir or like a setup system with stocked fish. 100%. Oh yeah, for sure. But as far as when you look at a fish or look at a river that has a reputation for having some good fish, you can't help but wonder, or you can't help but think, okay, this is going to be a good fishery because there's big fish. So there's a chance at a big one, but then also we should have some consistent action. And you're not entitled to that, but I think that we're at the point now where, we have enough intel, we had enough flies, we had enough know-how to you got some nice fish. Yeah. I just wonder though if like that, the reliance on salmon instead of insects maybe affects where they're holding, and that's just not. Well, and that's all theoretical on my part too. Like maybe I would expect, like when you look at some of the trout that we see that are following the steelhead up, and some of those areas where you would not fish for trout if there weren't steelhead around. Yeah. You can fish for trout if steelhead are around because they're kind of following them up. They're in the same vicinity. So that's just pure conjecture on my part that those areas would be less effective. But our buddy Kyle was talking about fishing those log jams, which we did. And it makes a lot of sense. You could pull some nice fish out of those log jam areas, but it's just hard to tell with the swiftness of the current where your fly is going. And what the approach should be and how long you should be at it too. Sometimes we'd stop for kind of 2 times through and then move on because there was a good amount of water, a lot of bends, and a lot of stuff that looked really, really fishy. But it was pretty tough fishing. We talked to some other people too, and it was just kind of slow. So it was slow. Yeah. For everybody. Don't want to sound too. entitled or anything like that. But yeah, it's. So I don't know, to answer the long way to answer your question. I want to like it more than I did. I loved the fact that it was sandy and gravelly, and we could beach the.
Floating it was.
Floating it was awesome. It was such a great float, and the weather was great. A little chilly one day, little pockets of rain here and there, but awesome float. Great getting in and out of the water.
Mm-hmm.
No bears. But it would be nice to pick up more fish, but that's always the case. So.
Would you go back and fish it?
Yeah.
After years of fine print contracts and getting ripped off by big wireless providers, if we've learned anything, it's that there's always a catch. So when I first heard that Mint Mobile offers premium wireless starting at just $15 a month, I thought, what's the catch? But after talking to them and using their service, it all made sense. There isn't one. Mint Mobile's secret sauce is that they're the first company to sell wireless service online only. They cut out the cost of retail stores and pass those sweet savings directly to you. For anyone who hates their phone bill, Mint Mobile offers premium wireless for just $15 a month. I was hesitant about having to get a new phone and a new phone number, but with Mint, you can use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and keep your same phone and your same phone number along with all of your existing contacts. Mint Mobile gives you the best rate whether you're buying for one or for a family, and at Mint, families start at 2 lines. All plans come with unlimited talk and text plus high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Switch to Mint Mobile and get premium wireless service starting at just $15 a month. To get your new wireless plan for just $15 a month and to get the plan shipped to your door for free, go to mintmobile.com/waypoint. That is mintmobile.com/waypoint. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/waypoint.
Same thing with the Kasilov, Kenai, and Russian. We went to the Russian. This is the honeymoon trip 2 years ago.
Yeah, did you even fish the Russian? You were so angry about it.
I was so angry about it. I was tired because we'd fished the upper Kenai first, and we drove up there, had to kind of hike in, had no idea what was going on. The water was low. There weren't a lot of fish around, and I was just appalled by the lines of people that were, it was 3 or 4 feet. This is actually the same day we fished this is the day that we fished the Kasilov, and a dude tail hooked a king. Doing the flossing method, tail hooked a king. It took off downriver, and there was one section, there was like 200 yards where no one was fishing. It was just you and me, which was great because we could just toss, use our switch rods and make long casts. And it was fun because you felt like you were fishing, not just have to do really, really short casts because there's a person 5 feet below, 5 feet above. So the guy tail hooks this king. It goes down past me, and I see that it's tail hooked, and he sees that it's tail hooked, and then I go back to fishing, and I turn around, and next thing I know, he's walking up the bank with the dead fish. I'm like, what in the hell? Yeah. So that kind of irritated me. I don't know if that was the same day, but by the time we got to the Russian River, just the crowds had kind of gotten to me, so I didn't even fish. And then you hooked into one. You were wearing, was it like a Prince nymph with a hot spot at the top that you hooked one with?
No, it was those little sockeye flies that we had.
Oh, the little sockeye flies? Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. I'd used that before for sockeye and Thorn River.
Are there sockeye in the Thorn River?
Yeah. There's it's a Prince nymph with a little bit of red thread behind the bead. Oh. Kurt ties them. They're pretty cool flies. Those, and then with a little bit of green hot spot, or the crystal dubbing too. Just make a little extra. It's the same buggy type look, but with a little extra flair. Those are some cool flies. But I'd go back just with a better attitude. Maybe again later in the year. This is the second time that we've been there in June, when it should be. Yeah. You should be fishing reds in Seward.
Yeah, but it doesn't make any sense for us because we're not going to keep the fish. So.
Yeah. I mean, maybe 1 or 2 for dinner or something like that. But then, of course, if we do go up there during peak time, later on in the year when it's really trout season, it's probably one of those just insane fishing days. We catch a whole bunch of really nice rainbows. but then we'd be giving up what we have here, and that's August is hunting time here, and
Yeah.
I don't know. I like trout fishing, but I don't know if I'd want to leave hunting season here to go up there to catch trout.
Yeah, I'd like to figure the trout fishing out better down here
Yeah.
before, because I always kind of thought like, oh, I think the Kenai is pretty exceptional, but I don't know that where we fished this time it's probably potential for a bigger fish, but other than that, not really that much more exceptional than here.
Yeah, it was cool to see. Again, we don't have rivers like that here. Yeah, maybe here and there.
Yeah, it was just different.
But yeah, I'm glad we did it. So the honeymoon was Kenai Peninsula, and this last trip was fishing, or first in Anchorage for a couple days, then fishing the Matsu Valley, and then on our way up to Denali, which now we'll get back to the topic I brought up a long time ago about hikes. So we went fishing and then hiking. We did some hikes in the park and out of the parks. Where did Denali rank as far as a park on? Because you've been to Yellowstone, you've been.
Yeah,
whatever.
I mean, I think as far as not being a zoo, it ranks really high. It's pretty cool. If I could do it over, I think I would have done more days in the backcountry. I didn't realize how easy it was to just get on that bus and then you can just go wherever you want and they'll pick you up and drop you off as many times as you want, basically, when you're back out there. That's pretty cool. And so they make it really easy for you to access the backcountry, but hardly anybody does. And so I thought that was really nice. And also kind of mind-blowing that, like, when we got back on that one bus where we saw the wolf.
Yeah.
And it's like they were almost making fun of the people who'd gotten off the bus for like 30 minutes at the end. They were like, oh, too bad they missed out on this. Bet they're feeling pretty stupid now. And I was like, bet they're not, because I bet they're enjoying it.
Yeah. Yeah, it was fun to be on the bus and see that, but yeah, like you said, you could just get off and walk in a lot of these areas. There were a couple spots that were closed down, so you couldn't walk in. But yeah, there were no bugs too. That was amazing.
Yeah, that was amazing.
Yeah, I same thing. It was so nice we had access to one campground, so you can drive in. You can go to the Savage Creek campground. You can drive in with your own vehicle. It's on paved road, but everything past that, you have to take the bus in unless you are going to be in the park for 3 nights or more. Mm-hmm. And even then, you can't drive around.
You can just drive to the one campground back there,
and then take the bus from there. So it was awesome. We got some good good hikes around, and knew there were going to be sheep around, and so that was one of my main goals, was to get get some footage of some sheep, and run one of the hikes, and decided to go up and over into a different drainage, and we did, and right off the bat saw some sheep. The wind was crazy. It was very difficult to hold the tripod or the spotter on the tripod still, and we were kind of limited on time. It would have been cool to drop down a little bit and make our way to a little bit closer, to get some better pictures and get some better footage, but without being like so close you're harassing the animals, of course. But yeah, spectacular, just really cool. We got to see Denali on the way in. It was mostly obscured with clouds, but it was kind of poking out the top. And then our first full day in there,
cleared up.
Yeah, there's cleared up, and it's got some really good views of it.
Yeah, it's a cool place.
Still,
and half of it is closed because there was a landslide that took out the road. So
yeah,
I would want to go back and see some more territory.
Yeah.
I think it would be pretty cool.
it would have been nice to be able to see the caribou from closer. The wolf was cool because not everybody sees the wolves, and we've seen wolves before, but to see a wolf in Denali when it is so wild that they don't have to be anywhere close. Didn't see a bear, but saw pretty much everything else, which is cool.
Yeah.
Still convinced there has to be grayling in there. I know that the people were saying that there's no grayling in those creeks, but I think that could be a way of saying, oh yeah, there's nothing there, and because they don't want people to fish, because that would add a whole different dynamic if you got people showing up with slang and power bait in there or something like that, or even if you did have catch and release fly fishing only, it would just add another dimension. You'd have people on the shores, you'd have more potential for animal conflict. So I'm not saying that they're lying about the fish, but there just has to be grayling in some of those rivers. I know that they're glacial fed, and they are kind of silty, but they are stinking pretty clear.
Yeah. Yeah, they look beautiful. It was interesting. Everyone had a different answer about, like, are there fish? And they'd be like, well, yeah, you can fish. I wouldn't. Or like, yeah, but the one who was like, oh, the silt clogs their gills and they die.
Coagulates their lungs and they would die, yeah.
Or, yeah, they just all...
Yeah. Well, you look at the Copper River, I mean, that thing is milky all the way to the mouth.
Yeah.
These rivers were not at all. So they're closer to the glaciers,
Yeah.
but the Copper River goes right next to a glacier. And all these are glacier fed.
Yeah.
So, and there's also another comment on there that they're also spring fed. So it's not just...
I think the big thing is if there's somewhere for them to overwinter, there'll be fish. If there's not, then...
Yeah, that would be the thing that convinced me. There were a couple of deeper pockets of some of the rivers, but, you know...
But, I mean, that area freezes, what, 5 feet deep, probably?
Yeah. So if they were to say that, like, it gets too cold, yeah, it makes some sense. So there's no lakes. That makes a lot of sense. So I think that's the problem with, what's that lake that drains the Kasilof? They're saying that you don't have like resident trout. Like Kenai gets a lot more.
Yeah.
It doesn't freeze over as much because the river on the north end, or the upper Kenai, circulates the water better, and Kasilof comes right from the Testamina Glacier into a smaller lake. Is it Testamina Lake? Testamina Glacier, Testamina Lake, and then the river. So it's way colder, more silt. No resident trout or fewer resident trout or something like that. Is that what I remember correctly?
Okay. I have no idea, but it sounds all right.
Could be making that stuff up. But yeah, I think that was the difference there, and it was weird because I was excited about maybe catching some rainbows in the Kasilof because if it's that close, then why wouldn't it be the same? But that makes sense if the Russian River drains into the Kenai, and the Kenai is just snow melt versus the Kasilof being straight up glacier melt. So. Yeah, I would totally bought that answer. Yeah, no fish because no lakes to winter over, and way too cold because it comes right from glaciers. I'd be like, yeah, there's no fish. But because I did not hear that answer, I'm thinking there's fish.
But I don't think it's worth fishing.
No. I think you would drive yourself crazy drifting a nice little elk hair caddis in some of those riffles that look so fishy, but not going to happen. And it's nice too that you don't have that extra distraction. Yeah, looking at a map here of Testamina Lake, and it's just glacier, short creek or short river, Testamina Lake, and then short. So, whereas the Kenai Lake is on the north side, and then you get the Russian River coming in, then you got the glacier coming in, whatever glacier that is, that drains into Ski Lac. And then out, so that makes a lot of sense. So that was Denali. So at the Savage River Campground for 1 night, 2 nights at Teclamina. Teclamina. That's a new. Oh, Testamina. Yeah, that's how I got that one wrong. 2 nights there, and then went out, fished the Matsu Valley a little bit more, and then back to Anchorage.
Yep.
Went by the Spenard Roadhouse again. Tried to go to the 49th State Brewery, whatever the brewery was. And you had to be there to make reservations. And it was an hour and a half out. It's like, well, you're supposed to go there.
The wait was an hour and a half. Yeah, and you had to be there in person to get on the list.
Yeah. So did not go there.
But that's been our experience everywhere downtown in Anchorage is super long wait.
When Brandon picked me up from the airport, we went downtown to J Street, and it took about 15 minutes, but we got in, and then...
but where is J Street? I mean, is that really downtown?
Same area. Yeah, it's right. Same area. It's like a block or something from there.
Okay.
But yeah, it's super... The halibut sandwich was really good. Jack said that it was... these are Alaska Wild Project guys. I was on their podcast Wednesday, and so they picked me up. We went out to dinner at J Street, and then went there to
what was that restaurant called?
I think it's just J Street.
J Street Restaurant.
Anchorage.
Nobody does fall better than Whole Foods Market. The Spice Up Autumn event is happening now. Save on animal welfare certified beef top sirloin steak, perfect with gravy for a comforting meal. Find savings on organic Honeycrisp apples and organic pears. Then visit the bakery department for their limited time pumpkin butter chai cake. And while you can, level up your fridge with fall wine, beers, and ciders. Spice Up Autumn at Whole Foods Market. Terms apply. Must be 21 plus. Please drink responsibly.
I thought it was.
J Street Pub.
F Street.
F Street?
Oops. Yeah, F Street. Yeah, it's different. F Street Station. Low-key bar serving up seafood and draft beer, plus a weekend brunch with the popular Eggs Benedict. But yeah, F Street, it was really good. Jack recommended the halibut sandwich, and yeah, it was as good, if not better, than any halibut sandwich I've ever had. And like I said, we were there for, 15 minutes before Brendan and I got a table. They just move people in and out pretty quick, and really good food and good service. And it's a block and a half from 49th State Brewing.
Well,
Yeah, super good.
I guess it's not on the list yet.
Maybe it's on the local list.
Yeah.
I think everybody's looking to go to, when they go up to these places, they want to go to the brewery. The brewery in Talkeetna had the brewery itself, which had a whole bunch of cars at it, and then in Talkeetna, that was the biggest of all the restaurants. There's a strip of restaurants, which is pretty cool. It's a cool little town because you can walk down the middle and there's stuff going on, and really like Talkeetna, but it's off a spur road, so it's kind of interesting that, was it the railroad went through there?
Yep.
And then when the highway was punched in, it was punched in at a different location on the other side of the river. So now Talkeetna is on a spur road, but still just has a very vibrant existence. It's the jumping off point for hikers or for alpinists going up Denali.
Yep.
And yeah, just got a disproportionate amount of restaurants and stuff to go on there, but really cool spot. And the brewery there was pretty busy, but where would we eat?
Homestead?
Yeah, I think Homestead. Something
Homestead
like that.
Kitchen?
Really good.
Yeah, it was good.
We got the loaded potato. If it was a little bigger, I think that would have been better.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Yeah, they had some fancy stuff.
But, yeah, what else? I know it's very difficult to compare, but Kenai or the up north trip that we did?
Kenai fishing, definitely better. Up north hiking, I think, is better.
Yeah, it's hard to compare because it was fun to get variety on those other rivers where you were getting, it could be a big dolly, it could be a big rainbow, just beautiful rainbows too that are just almost totally white or silver because they blend in. A lot of fun, and there was some sockeye that were running up there. So we knew that it wasn't going to be the same, and that Kings were shut down, and that we didn't even, it was tough fishing for everybody up there in Matsu, but we kind of expected that going in. We're just hoping to get some nice fish because they're around. Is that?
Oh.
Yeah. Well, I thought it wasn't going to be wide open because you don't have salmon around where they're just, everything's trying to fatten up. So all these trout are just getting huge. But yeah, fun to see both sides of it, and now we'll have to figure out where we want to go on our next odd year trip.
Yeah.
Got to hit up Fairbanks.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe for hunting.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's that much to do there in June.
Grayling fishing, we can help Harrison with the cabin.
We're not going on vacation to build Harrison's house. And he should be done in 2 years.
Yeah, that's true. Hopefully. But if we do make a hunt trip next year or this year or whenever, then
we can help.
If
we're going there for something else.
Yeah. It was pretty sweet last year, just being up there by the fire, do a little bit of work with the logs, and then just have a little campfire there, and it was pretty cool. But yeah, it's cool to see different parts of the state. There's different character. Same thing happens in Southeast, and because you can't drive from one community to another, it seems like they keep their individual identity a little bit more intact. But yeah, super fun to see new parts of the state. And that Denali was, I mean, you got to go to it. You got to go check it out and do some hiking around and bring your spotting scope and look for some sheep. And,
Any wildlife.
Any wildlife, yeah. But any other? What would you recommend if someone's going to go up to Matsu Valley to trout fish? If someone's going to, yeah, we the day before you got up there, I went into Mossy's in Anchorage, and there's a guy there who'd gone out with a guide and only caught 3 grayling. His wife caught 1, he caught 2. Went on a half-day guided trip and only caught 3 grayling. And I didn't catch a grayling the whole time. We did 3 floats.
You could have.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
So what would you recommend? Someone's going to fish that area if they're trying to plan a trip at this time of the year too, because obviously if you go during peak time, you're going to get peak fish.
Yeah, I would recommend to go at a different time if you really want to fish.
Yeah.
I mean, because if you go up there to fish and you go now and you catch 3 grayling on a guided tour, I think that guy probably was disappointed.
Yeah, it kind of depends. Well, I don't know how much experience he had, and that can make a big difference too. Because if the water's high, and you've got to get the fly to do something other than like fishing in Lower Sacramento, in Redding, where you're just in a drift boat and you're floating and you're just watching a bobber because it's just an endless run.
Yeah.
We're just hundreds of yards. You don't have to worry about anything. Whereas these rivers where they're turning, you got to pay attention to where you're casting, where the lane is so much more, and then also depth and everything else that plays a huge role into that. Your hook sets are going to be different if you're fishing nymphs versus if you're fishing like a Dalai Lama under an indicator. You know, that trailing hook isn't as stout, so it's not just going to stay there. And something can hit the top part of it. A lot of other things can go wrong. So if you're not experienced at fly fishing, that's going to be a problem. And then also, guides make a big difference too. You can have guides that are really patient, articulate, get you really on the fish, and other people who are just, I'm going to guide.
Yeah.
That's what I do during the summer, but it's mostly just to pay money so I can party. But
Yeah, I think the fishing was slow.
Yeah.
I mean, regardless of experience.
So if June was the only time that the person could go, what would you recommend if they were trout fishing in Matsu Valley? And then what would you recommend someone who's going up to Denali in June?
What would you recommend?
You're asking me.
Yeah.
I would say similar to you. If you want to take your own car, if you're renting a car, I think Savage Campground is a good campground.
Yeah. Yeah, that's another good point, though. You can get to Denali without renting a car, and you can get around Denali without a rental car.
Yeah.
Because you can take the train up there, and then once you're at the entrance, there are buses everywhere. There are buses that take you out of the park to restaurants.
Yeah. And it's not a super crowded bus. It's not like you have to wait 15, 30 hours to get on a bus or sign up for a bus. There were times when we're walking between stops and the green buses will pick you up and they'll take you to the next campsite or take you where you want to go. You have to pay for your entry and have your ticket and stuff, but it's super easy to get around. So you don't have to have everything planned out to the minute to catch this exact bus, because if you don't catch this exact bus, then it's going to be full and you're going to be in trouble. Now that could be different later on in the year, but
Yeah.
it might not be, and that was super nice. So if you do rent a vehicle and you want to camp there, you could stay at Savage Campground and you could just take the bus in. Like you said, most of the park is not accessible because of the landslide, so you can just take that early bus in and do whatever you want, and you could use Savage Campground as your home base.
Well, so that bus that goes, so the dirt road, you'd have to camp at Tech Laniga Campground, because once you're back on the pavement, then you have to buy a new bus ticket. So if you camp at Savage, you'd have to buy a new bus ticket every day.
Each day? Oh,
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, just get into Teclanica then.
Yeah.
And then use that as your jumping off point. And I mean, you can even walk along the river forever,
Yeah.
which is pretty sweet. But there are some other, Igloo Mountain was a cool hike that we started up, and kind of shaly. So,
And I think a lot of the bus drivers, when we asked them about, hey, where's a good place to start this, or what do you think about, they were all pretty knowledgeable about different hikes and stuff back in, because there's no trails, so you kind of just gotta look at your topo maps and figure out where you want to go, how you're going to get there.
Yeah. So you would recommend going at a different time?
For the fishing. For Denali, I think mid-June is perfect.
Yeah. No bugs yet, which made the experience so different. You could hang out by your campfire. You could be outside. That's massive. One of the tour guides was talking about how mid to late August is when everything starts to turn red. And orange. You get the fall
actually mid to late
colors.
July.
Yeah. So you get the fall colors showing up, obviously, because the winter ends a lot sooner, or the summer ends a lot sooner up there as far as temperatures and whatnot go. So, and then one place to eat in Anchorage, where would you recommend?
Spinard Roadhouse.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, yeah, it's solid. You're not going to be disappointed. It's nothing like crazy, but it was good enough we went twice.
Yeah.
I'm just not the type of person who's going to wait an hour and a half for anything.
No, that's true. It's got to be super, super exceptional, but even then, there's got to be some sort of hype thing. We talked about that with a lot of time. The breweries, you get in there and it's cool. It's a nice environment, but also there's a good chance that it's kind of overrated because it's about the beer and the food might not be that great. That was the nice thing about being down in Soldotna when we were down there 2 years ago, was that the breweries were easy access. You got in and had good food.
Yeah.
The pizza
I get them mixed up.
Pizza's at one of them, and the Kenai River Brewing had the good
wings and
burger.
Yeah.
I don't know what the other.
I was like, yeah. Anyways.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Soldotna. Yes, if someone else is Googling for you, then that makes it. St. Elias. I know that was it. St. Elias Brewing. That was had the really good pizzas. And then Kenai River Brewing had good wings and burgers. So, all right. It's about 4:50. I think we're going to head out and try to catch a king, I guess, not some kings. Fishing's been kind of slow. Had some killer whales moving in. And then trollers are just all around too, so it's pretty packed fishery close to town, which is about what we have available to us with our 18-foot skiff boat. Give it a couple turns this afternoon. So
yeah.
All right. Thanks again for listening, and we'll talk to you next time.